And now finally let's try to go and make use of the get request as well as the delete request. So first we will try with the get request over here. So get all the countries over here and let's try to execute this one, and you will see that we got all of the record over here. So it's the list of our country entities over here. So that's the one that we previously created over here, right? And next is let's try to go and grab the by the ID over here. Let's try to go and make use of the ID over here. ID of the 14, I guess that's what we created previously. Let's try to execute this one, and we got the error over here. So let's try to see what went wrong over here. And here some of the validation is not working correctly. So let's try to go and see where was that. So it was in the get by the ID of the 14. So let's try to look into our let's try to go to the repository over here, and in the repository let's try to see the get country by the ID. So here we are returning the actually a model over here. So that's not what we want to return. The return type here is explicitly saying that we need to return a country entity. So what we have to do is we just have to pass in the map country entity, map the country model back to the country entity over here, and just pass in the result. So that should be good enough, and let's try to go and execute this one, and now we should see that that's working perfectly fine. Now we got the correct record back. Next thing is that we have to go and try it on our delete one. So let's try to go and let's try to go and delete it by the ID of the 14 that we just created, and let's try to execute the query, and you see that we got the 204 or the response back. So let's try to see what we have defined in the delete. It's going to return us the status code of the 204, which is no content, and that should be good. So let's try to go and verify if that was deleted over here. What we can do is we can just go and execute this one. So that should raise an error because the ID is not there. So if you go over here, the none type has no attribute of the ID actually. Since we are not doing the proper exception handling, that's why we are not actually getting that error. Since once the ID is not found, we need to actually raise an error, but that should be good enough. And we can also verify by executing the get all the list of the countries over here, and we should see that the 14 is not there. And if you take a look over here, the return type is not actually matching what we want over here. It's not in the correct order. So what we need to do is we need to actually return this one based on the ID. So depending on, maybe you can filter it out by the name, or you can filter it out by the ID over here. So let's try to go back to the repository, and let's try to see how we are actually returning that one over here. So here we are actually returning all the countries over here, but what we can do is we can actually go and sort that one over here to return based on the ID in descending order, or based on the name in the ascending order. And I guess that may be on the separate lesson where we'll learn about the pagination and sorting. And for now, I guess that's good. So let's just keep it as the default one for now, and later we'll see how we can sort it out by the ID, as well as how we can pass in the paginated the record from here as well. So that's all over here.